Okay, welcome back. I'm going to show you some additional information that we have out there in the supplemental materials section. So if we go to supplemental materials, here's a sample. Wait for that to come up. Actually, I'll probably just go ahead and bring it up over here because I want to see it. So here's another version of the same thing over again. The words running head and some sort of a thing. The title and whether or not you're going to have any of this stuff down here. An abstract, right, with no indent for page 2. We don't need the keywords part. Then you repeat the so this part is going to be kind of weird because you're going to have the title of a document but no running head. And then you're going to have the title of the document. Right? Doesn't that sound a little weird? So this is the introduction. So this person had some introductions, and then actually they don't really have that. Here's some good examples of, here's one of the original types of citation types where you say who it is, like Cummings et al. 2002 reviewed the results, blah, blah, blah. And then down here is the second type where you actually do it inside parentheses. Cool. I never noticed this guy didn't. Here we go. And here's the discussion part. That's a level 1, and then maybe they'll have a level 2, maybe. Okay, here's the references with the hanging indents. Okay, cool. All right, so there's just an example of a good one. Let me go back to. Okay, here's the citation chart. Now, the citation chart basically is going to give you not just the citations for APA, but it's also going to give you some of the others. And this is, I'll admit, this is kind of Byzantine. And I mentioned to you before in the previous video that I don't normally do this. Typically what I do is I just let Microsoft Word do the heavy lifting. So here's what the APA is for citing books. Books with a single author, books with 2 or 3, or blah, 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 blah. And then, publications, and then videos, and just on and on and on of different kinds of things you can do. How do you reference an email? How do you reference a magazine or a journal or a newspaper? So there's all these techniques. If you want to do it by hand, then by all means, learn how to do that. If you want to cheat and just use Microsoft Word, that'd be perfectly okay by me. Okay. So one more to go. And this one is this plagiarism spectrum thing. Here's kind of sort of what most people get caught up with when they're working with a document. This is from a company called Turnitin, and this is some statistics on what they see when people turn in documents. They see an awful of the plagiarism they see. A lot of it is just cloning. In other words, all you did was just completely copy somebody else's document. Basically, you took somebody else's document, put your name on it. I mean, this includes like high school, so I'm not accusing you guys of being this dumb, but I'm just saying this is the statistics that the industry has come up with. Number 2 is awful lot of stuff is just copied and pasted. Okay, that's a very common. It happens a lot. Changing keywords and phrases. Remember we talked about how you can't take somebody's words and then just go in and make couple little changes and tweaks to it. That doesn't work. A remix. Mixing paragraphs from multiple sources. No, that does not going to work. Borrowing generally from someone's work without citation. A mashup, just combining things. Having sources that don't exist. Or including citation, but contains no original work. Like, okay. And then retreat. Including proper citation, but relying too closely on the original wording, which means all you did was just properly copy someone's work. Okay? So this is good information on what not to do. Okay, so let's talk about plagiarism. We use a system called VeriCite, and it's an anti-plagiarism tool. And essentially what's going to happen is it's going to look at your document and compare it to internet sources and a pool of papers that other universities have used. and come back and tell me if you've copied and pasted too much. It's going to give you what I call an originality score, basically telling me how much of your document is been copied. So essentially what I'm saying is I'm expecting that no more than 24% of your document could be from other sources. That's basically my threshold. So if you turn in a document that 30% of the content is just copied and pasted from some other source, then you're just going to get a 0, and I'm going to send it back to you and say, do it again. I'm not even going to grade it. If the originality score is above 24, I don't grade it. I don't even open the document. Look, I just go, okay. I just mark it as a 0 and send it back. Okay? You guys understand the rules? Okay. So, typically, 24% is easy to do. However, I mentioned that I'm expecting like quotes to be no more than, 2 or 3% of your document. But if you decide to use a bunch, I mean, you've got 20% of your document is block quotes. Well, then you're not gonna meet the criteria here, are you? So the number of quotes in your document have to be kind of low in order for you to be able to do this, right? Okay, I'm glad you're figuring this out. Okay, when you turn in a document, even before I grade it, so let's say it's due, on Sunday, but you turned it in on Thursday. Maybe a couple of hours later, you can go back and see what your plagiarism score, your originality score is. There'll be a little color code in there. And so green is blue is like perfect. Green is okay. Yellow, you might be kind of close. And then it goes into shades of red. And so you can instantly look at that and go, whoa, particularly if it's a yellow one. If it's a yellow one, you better look. You better open up the document and take a peek at what the score is. Because if it's above 24, then I'm not even going to grade it. Okay. So yes, the problem is as soon as you submit the document, you don't get that score. You have to wait a while. It takes a while for the system to go through and check. So, and exactly how long it takes, I'm not exactly certain. It's just sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes it doesn't. What can I say? Okay, so I've been teaching this course for a while, and I kind of already have an idea of how students are going to do things. So I already have what I call the previous grading notes. This is the grading notes from this course being taught several times. So I'm just going to give you the benefit of what other people do wrong. All right, here goes. So the number one thing that most people get wrong is they do a survey paper. I'm not interested in collecting other people's thoughts. I want to be able to see you do some thinking. I want to see original content. All right. So here's some examples of how, and some easy examples of how you can write a document that have original content. Clearly, this isn't the only way to do it, but I'm just saying this is the easy way. Do some calculations, okay? Not copy some calculations from somebody else. Do your own calculations. Some sort of a test or comparison that you define the criteria and you do the testing, just like Consumer Reports would do. Use examples from personal experience. You could say, we tried this in my work at Kumquat Industries, and this came out horrible. We had to do this. Well, clearly that's not going to be found in any source document. Woohoo! Some sort of analysis that draws a unique conclusion or different conclusion that I will not find other places. These are getting a little bit more complicated to do. As I go down the list, you can see digest a complex topic into an easy to see. This is getting really, really tough. These guys at the top, they're pretty easy. Okay, so examples of poor or no original content. Hey, I read 5 articles and here's what the article said. Okay. Or all of my original content is like 2 sentences at the end of the document. No, not even close. By the way, make it easy for me to find your original content. Okay, don't hide it, right? I'm more likely to give you credit for original content if I can find it. Okay. So, one more thing. The only time you're allowed to cut and paste is when you're using it as a quote, right? Okay, cool. Not everything is quote worthy. All right. Just because you cite a reference does not give you the license to copy their work. Okay? Right. Just because you can say, well, I referenced it, it's like, well, sorry. Plagiarism is still a crime. By the way, I'm not going to call the police if you have a plagiarism issue. Abstract is not like a preview of coming attractions. Don't leave anything out. It's okay to have spoilers. It's just a miniature summary of your entire document. Don't make references to things in the document. For example, I mentioned that maybe all you have is a reference. So typically you wouldn't say inside. Can I start over? Typically all you get is like the abstract, and maybe you have to pay money to get the real document. So don't say, well, in paragraph 4, well, I don't have paragraph 4. Okay. And normally you don't put references inside the abstract for the very same reasons, which means I can't get to your references. So if you made a citation to something I can't get to, that's pretty dumb. Future tense is acceptable in the body, but discouraged. Never refer to yourself. Remember to cite all the things. Don't have a reference, a table, or a figure that you never mentioned anywhere in your document. And then make sure that every reference, has a citation. Obviously, the citation, you can have more citation than references. A single reference could have multiple citations. That kind of makes sense. Cool. The APA table. APA table is kind of weird. It doesn't have any vertical lines in it. I'm going to show you an example of one. It just has a line at the top, a line at the bottom, and maybe one line across the top that separates the heading from all the rest of the things. There's no vertical lines. There should be only one font for the entire documents to include the heading, okay, and page numbers. Don't indent the first line in the paragraph, but every other line does get indented. And then, of course, the best source for references is, the gold standard is, peer-reviewed journals. However, that's not always possible. Now, Wikipedia and the textbook are not acceptable sources, which means you have to go out and do some research. Okay, that's about the end of this video, and we'll see you guys again in some future video.